majority of us can relate to, that has to do with the majority of us. Parents. How many of you guys here live on campus? Yeah, just a few of you guys. And then how many of you guys commute from home? And so, how many of you guys live in San Diego and commute from home? That doesn't make sense. It's okay. Well, if you guys have parents that give you crap about, like, you know, spending way too much time not, like, at school late and not coming home on time to spend with family, ever happened to any of you guys? Yeah? And then, have there also been instances where, like, you just, at times probably feel like they don't understand you just because of, like, things you like to do or things you like to have fun in? Yeah? Okay. Well, for example, when I was in high school, I really enjoyed going to concerts at Soma. And I don't know how many of you guys heard of Soma. It's down here in San Diego, Sherilyn. Has anyone else heard of Soma? Yeah? They have some really good shows there, a lot of punk alternative stuff. And I remember the first time I showed my mom some pictures from Soma. There was like a huge mosh pit, and you guys know what mosh pits are, right? And the very first time I showed her that, she was like, I don't want you going back to those concerts. I'm like, why? She's like, because there's those mosh pits. You don't know if there might be a stampede, you'll get killed, or someone will bring like a needle and inject you while you're in the middle of the mosh pit. You know, some of the most craziest things. Like, Mom, I want to go to like some kind of sponsorship on the East Coast. Oh, what if the plane crashes? Thanks, Mom. You know what I mean? Like, not the best thing I want to hear. But basically, what I wanted to say is that, like, you know, growing up, we all go through these little phases. In the beginning, we're our parents' little angels. Then as we get older, we can kind of become their biggest liability. You know what I mean? And it's not always living in a personal harmony with your parents. You're always going to have those clashes, those outbursts. And although those things can bring you down, it's also a new way to shed light and understanding. And so what I wanted to do is, you know, with your fellow peers around you, who, you know, everyone can relate to, everyone has those little stories, I wanted you guys to get into little groups and maybe talk about some of the generation differences between the older generation of your parents, you know, mindset, ideas, and your generation now. Like culture, religion, parents think different way in politics, you know, academically. Like, I know, how many of your parents here wanted you to be a doctor, a physician, a nurse? Anybody like that here? Have their parents really wanted that for them? Does anybody here have a major that their parents aren't really, like, think they're kind of just not really that good for you? Yeah? So I'm sure some of you guys can relate. And so, let's see. I remember, too, there's also just, like, a lot of social differences within parents. I remember when that song, I Kissed a Girl, by Katy Perry came out, my dad would hear it on the radio and he'd be like, no. Then he'd change the channel. You know what I mean? He thought it would promote, like, my little sister becoming a lesbian. So, you know, I mean, parents they're not dumb. And they're not really naive. It's just that they're not real. At times, there are some things we want them to see, but they can't see. And there are just things that they want us to see, but we can't see. And I guess that's just part of growing up and the differences between that. So I'm just curious. I want you guys to get into groups, like I said earlier, maybe discuss it. And I just want to hear some of your stories or points of views. So if it would be okay if I have like an e-board member regulate like